do you do when your supervisor turns your job into a nightmare? When I was an 18-year-old kid, I got my first real job working in the Canadian oil patch. It was the early 2000s, and the pay felt amazing for someone with no experience. About $20 an hour while minimum wage was under $6. The job was called well testing. We connected pressure tanks and flare stacks to new oil and gas wells, then recorded data while the wells ran. Setting up and taking everything apart was hard work, but the rest of the shift was mostly watching gauges and entering numbers into a computer. It should have been a decent first job, but everything changed because of one person, Gary. In this job, you worked in 2-man 12-hour shifts or 4-man 24-hour shifts, and I was paired with Gary, a grumpy, heavy-drinking man in his mid-50s who seemed to hate the world. He was overweight and lazy, only getting out of the trailer to help me lift the 250-pound pipes I physically couldn't move alone. Otherwise, he spent most of the day watching DVDs, taking naps, or typing a little data once an hour. He also enjoyed picking on me. I was tall but young-looking, and he used that to call me stupid or treat me like a child. When he found out I had never used a power drill, he laughed and asked why my dad didn't teach me anything. I told him my dad wasn't around much, and he used that against me the next time I made a mistake, saying it was no wonder my dad left. When I told him that wasn't funny, he insisted I just couldn't take a joke. Most of our jobs were far out of town, so we often ended up eating dinner together in small-town bars. Gary drank heavily every night. When he had enough alcohol in him, he could be friendly, but at work he always treated me badly. Soon he started making me drive his truck to every job because he was hungover each morning. He earned over $1 per kilometer, and we drove hundreds of kilometers a day, but I only got minimum wage for travel time. He told me he didn't care because he was the boss, then slept the entire way like a drunk statue. I worked with him for 3 long months, taking insult after insult because I needed the job. One night after another long day, I finally broke. During dinner, I told Gary it wasn't fair that I drove his truck while he got paid extra, and maybe he should give me a little of it. That small comment set him off. He started yelling, calling me names, and telling me I was lucky he didn't fire me. I was young and frustrated, and his words actually brought me to angry tears. When he threatened my job, I snapped inside. I didn't want revenge at first, I just wanted away from him. But life handed me an opportunity the very next morning. As usual, Gary fell asleep as soon as we left the hotel, passed out from the night's drinking. About 30 kilometers from the job site, I saw a semi-truck parked on the side of the highway with the engine running. The driver was outside stretching his legs. An idea formed in my mind almost instantly. Gary never woke up unless someone shook him, so when I stopped the truck, he didn't notice. I walked up to the friendly trucker and quickly explained my idea. He laughed, agreed, and climbed back into his cab to wait for my signal. I pulled Gary's truck forward until we were almost bumper to bumper with the big semi. Then I flashed the signal. The trucker blasted his air horn with everything he had. At the same time, I slammed my hand on the horn of Gary's truck and screamed, "We're gonna die!" like my life depended on it. Gary shot awake so fast he hit his head on the roof. The look of pure terror on his face was unforgettable. He was shaking, yelling, and trying to understand what was happening. When he realized it was a trick, he grew furious. He threatened to kill me, but his voice kept cracking because he was still half asleep and terrified. I backed away fast, waved to the trucker, and continued driving. Gary then told me he had dangerously high blood pressure and I could have given him a stroke. At the time, I didn't fully understand what a stroke was, so I just laughed and told him he should calm down. That only made him angrier. For the next 20 minutes, he kept yelling and turning bright red, and I kept laughing, which only fueled his rage. When we reached the worksite, he jumped out, ordered me to get out of the truck, said I was fired, and stomped off to call the company owner. I didn't care at that point. I sat outside, smoked, and waited. It took about 4 hours for the owner, who also managed the company, to arrive. Gary had told him I tried to murder him, but the boss didn't believe that. On the drive back to the city, I calmly told him exactly what happened and why. He laughed harder than I expected. Instead of losing my job, I was transferred to a different crew and kept working there until I went back to school. In the end, I escaped Gary, gained a funny story, and even got a bit of respect from the rest of the workers. Sometimes all it takes is one loud truck horn to change your whole life.